Ago.
Welcome to another edition of the on-air series for the Heritage Month. We're focusing on the Eastern region as the Heritage Caravan team travels across the country. Today we want to focus a bit more on Ewukugwa, a town a lot of us are told in school is the hometown of Okomfo Anokye. We will use that to try and understand the Eastern region's topography, particularly within the Akwapim areas. We've already discussed the Akwamu issue. We'll try and understand the role of Ewukugwa historically in Ghana and try and use that to understand the Akwapim areas and their links with the Guans. Kweku Akwankwa is my guest. Kweku, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We're seeing the Eastern region, a very fantastic region. To go back to what you said earlier, you said the Eastern region is very diverse. The Kwewus are there, the Achim are there, the Akwapims are there, the Akwamus are there, and the Dangbe are there. Yeah. Now, where is Ewukugwa and how important is it to the history of what we have as present-day Ghana?
Thank you very much. The Ewukugwa are also in the hilly Guan, what we call the Akwapim range on the mountains. Normally, people from that area, when they are going there, including you, they say, I'm going to Ofie. That's how they call their hill, Ofie. So some people say, Ofie Kwasobrel. So that is the hill. And as you know, Ghanaians believe, or it is generally believed that there are people who are very respectful. Even when they are insulting, they say, "Mi pachosi, we are here." You see, so these are the kind of people we are talking about. And Ewukugwa is among the 17 states that make up the Akwapim states. Originally a hilly Guan, okay, in that community. So in the community Ewukugwa is living in is described as Okre, and the language they speak is Chirepon, which is from Ochiripompo. The group is about 5. That's the Great Okre in that area, and the Chirepon is coming from there. I can't use to tease them that they are people who can raid and sell them. So Chirepon, that's how they used to buy it. Is Chirepon. They are great, mighty people who are on the hill. And among the Chirepons, or the Okre people, are the Ewukugwa, Aprede, and the Biru. Sometimes some even add Abansi and then Asasiesu, which of Akan origin, but they are also in that area. Even though some believe the Aboriginal people are there. So that's from the Okre speakers.
So there's Deu, Ebiru, Ewukugwa, and Asasiesu.
No, Asasiesu is not the Aprede.
Apirede.
Yes.
Apirede. These are within the Okre area.
Yes.
Edukrum.
And Edukrum.
But you said there are 17 Akwapim states. These 5 are part of the 17.
Part of the, so you have the Ebri.
Ebri.
You have your hometown, Obosomase.
That's my mother's hometown.
Yes. Then you have.
Obosomase is my. Let's just be clear. We are patrilineal, so I'm from Georgia. Yeah. But Obosomase is where my mother's father comes from.
Okay.
That's true.
Then you have the Abutechi. You have the Manfe. You have the Mampong. You have Amano Klub.
Okay.
You have Tutu. Okay. Then you have Abansi. You have Asasieso. Then you have Latahinase. You have Latekubiase. All of them.
And then you
and
the
Ashurase.
Ashurase. 17. So, but the capital of
the state is Akuapem, adding to 8.
I see.
Akuapem.
So there's a Aprede, Ebri, Edukrom, Obosomase, Mampong, Tutu. In fact, when you're driving up the hill, you can actually see these towns. Yeah. Then there's Manfe, Amanokrom, Late, Kubease, Late Abena. Is it Abenase?
Is it Latahinase and Late Kubease, all making the Late group.
That's Omani Mensa Bunsu. Then you have Abutechi.
Abutechi. That is where they signed the 1733 Accord that created the Akwapim state. Because there is Chenku deity there, and that is a powerful deity. It moves all the way to the Chenku forces at Dodua area. that water, it moves all the way from Obosomase. So the deity Chenku itself is at the hills of Abuteti. That's where it moves.
And there's also Abonse.
There's Abonse.
And then there's Deu.
Yes.
Ebreu.
There's Asesieso.
Asesieso. And then Ewukugwa.
Ewukugwa.
So Ewukugwa is known to be where Okomfo Anokye came from.
Yeah.
But what does it even mean? What does Ewukugwa mean?
Ewukugwa means Ewuku's market.
Oh, okay.
Ewuku's market.
I see.
So their leader Ewuku, when they were moving, you see, the Guan people were aboriginals. In fact, back in the day, they moved all the way under the King Atala of Finam. They had a king all the way from the Accra Plains all the way to Sechere areas, which they call Sechere in their language. So the Ashantis that came, the later group of Akan that came to become Ashanti, Kumewu, Abubu, and all those people in that area in Kwaman, they call the Sechere areas. Okay, in that area they don't like goat. They were hunters. So goat is called Sechere Mpel. Sechere doesn't like goat. So those people in the area, that is where the Ebru and other people. So Ebru were the first to even be on the mountain. So Deu and then Edukrum and Co were all living at where the Achim will later come and stay called Tafo. So there were a lot of fights there. And then Ewukugwa led them from that place and came to settle on the mountain where their brethren's Ebiru was already established. And that place became a market, Ewuku's area. So it became Ewukugwa. So during the Yam Festival, if you want to see the seniority among them, you realize that when they are sharing the hind legs and then sharing meats, Ewukugwa perform very important role in this. And they also have a very powerful deity, which was there, that will produce the famous Okomfo Anokye.
The 5 towns of Chirepon, Ebru, Deu, Ewukugwa, Edukrom, and Eprede. And Ewukugwa is like the largest of the...
Yeah, so we say the senior for them traditionally used to be Ebiru because that was there. So it was, I've forgotten whether it was the Adontenehene or something of the Akwapim state.
Historical, political point in terms of those who follow. Dan Bocho is the MP for Okre.
Okay.
And then for those who like your football, the Youngsters was a very good team there at some point. I think they have a new name now. They're no longer called the Youngsters. So, who was Okomfo Anokye, by the way?
So Okomfo Anokye comes from the family in Ewukugwa. So he's a Guan. And according to the oral tradition, his father was called Ano. So he was Ano's son, born in that. When he was born with power, something in his hand. Some say it was a risk. And then he came with some birthmarks. So when he was born, his father, this young man was doing a lot of mysterious things, doing powerful things. So whenever he's doing those things, people will speak in their Chirepon language as Anokye. Anokye means Ano, look at what Ano's son is doing. So the Anokye or Ano look then became Anokye.
So his father was Ano,
name.
And Che is in the...
Yes, but others say his true name was Frimpong Manson Kotobre. So Frimpong Manson. So Frimpong Manson, and when we talk in language, you will understand Frimpong Omanaso. That is the nation's year. It echoes the man's rule. So what it is that with his powers, he moved from several places before he landed at Ashanti Kingdom. So people believe he even passed through Kurubo land, went through the Dintra where there was an issue, and he made a prophecy of looking for somebody with, there are some people with a skin with some flecks, that whitish thing in the fair skin. That is what he needed for sacrifices. And that person turned out to be a royal. So when he made that prophecy, the Dintra people had wanted to use him because he himself is very fair. So he fled from Dintra and then entered Ashanti with his friend he had made that time, Opimso, or this year, or Setu Tutu was learning the art of statecraft from the Dintra court. So it was there the oral tradition says they made friendship. So when finally Obri Abua died, and then Nana Sarkodie Date, okay, of Antwa led the delegation to Dintra, and brought Odishie Osei Tutu back home. He was installed as a chief, and then the friendship between the two grew up. So Okomfo Anokye became the spiritual advisor to Osei Tutu, and the combination of these two ensured the success of Ashanti in the war, as well as diplomacy and statecraft.
Is there a relationship between Okomfo Anokye and Akwamu State?
So we will say Okomfo Anokye it doesn't have that relationship like Osei Tutu. Osei Tutu was someone when, at the height of the Akwamu's power, there was Otutu deity Tutuabo. That when Osei Tutu's mother was someone who was having difficulty in bearing children. So his brother, who is the king, Obiri Yabua, sent her to the Tutuabo deity. And it was there that he was born. Then they gave him the name Osei Tutu, okay, as someone who, back in the day when...
So Osei Tutu has a strong history with the eastern region?
Yeah, he had so when he grew up and he was going and even serving there, he went with one of the warriors from there called Asamoah Kwanta. So it was Asamoah, after he was moving, he bought some guns from the Danish castle, and then Asamoah Kwanta led them through there, because he can show the way of crossing the, how do you call it, the water. So according to the oral history, when they were crossing, there was a bush pig. It is called Kokote. So the bush pig, the place he was able to cross, they realized that that place is narrow, and they follow the path of the Kokote or the bush pig. And that is why Asamoah Kwanta, who saw it and led them there, got the appellation Asamoah Kokote. So every Asamoah's appellation is Kokote. And he was a very energetic guy, very young. So they call him Omono. So other people also call him Omono Asamoah. So they moved all the way to Ashanti, and he was given guns, and they formed the Akomi division. And he gave them a place in Kumasi called Enum, because he was from Enum area. So he was called Enum Asamoah Kwanta. You get the point? So the Enum then got corrupted to Edum, and they became the chief executioners of Ashanti State. So that is the connection from that angle.
We know that the golden stool was conjured by Okomfo Anokye. How seminal is that in the Ashanti story? I mean, we sort of traced a bit of who Okomfo Anokye is. It seems to me as if the golden stool is really Ashanti power.
And it is the soul.
And they believe that that is what binds the nation together.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to me how somebody from Ukugwa, who was originally living here in Akwamu land, with Akwamu's military power, comes to befriend Osei Tutu, and they form this. So we can also say that some of the Akwamu powers of war, the Ashanti benefited from that, and also possibly the ability to use mystical powers, which you describe Okomfo Anokye has.
Yeah, so it is a combination of stuffs. So you can, back in the day, you can't talk about history, even in European history. If you go back to Norse history, about the Vikings, even among the Britons, you talk of Merlin the wizard. You see, so back in the day, in all of our history, the element of mysticism is there. It's something we cannot move away. But however, in our African history, when this thing is being recounted, people sort of look down upon that and say, this couldn't have happened.
They downplay the role
downplay it. But the European one, we sort of, okay, it happened because of their color or whatever.
And because of the way they educated us.
Yes. So bringing it home to our discussion, this combination of mystical powers, religious, I will call it religious capabilities, which also enhances the militaristic capabilities as well as diplomacy. This all combined and ensure the success of Ashanti State.
Wonderful.
So that is how you should look at it.
This is the Heritage Month Honor Series. We're talking Eastern region. In this episode, we're discussing Ewukugwa as a route into the Okomfo Anokye conversation, and also trying to understand some of the various groups in the region. My name is Ben Avle. My guest is Kweku Dakwankra. A few name checks. So there's a man I interviewed in the past few years called Kofi Otutu Edulabi, and he tells me he's from Ebrew. And so when you mention the Otutu, and then you mention how Osei Tutu got his name, I think I made that connection. So actually, Osei Tutu's association with that part of history is where he probably got his name from.
Yes.
So it's probably not an originally Ashanti name.
Yeah, so the Otutu itself is not an Ashanti name. he got it from the hilly Guans, where the deity is, at Tutuabu deity. So Tutuabu is an uplifter or thrower of stones, Tutuabu. Okay, so he throws stones, and that is the power of that deity. He gives children. Also, it was also a war deity. So if you go to Ebiri, the chief of the community is called Otutukono, which when they come to the Accra and stay and were working, it became Otokuno in that name. So you see, there was somebody who also came from that to Accra, who is called Obualabi, become Bolabi, and that sort of thing. So this, you see even the interconnection between the Hilly Guans and even the Ga, as well as other communities.
I wanted you to talk a bit about the Guans, because you said the Akwapim are a merger of migrant Akans and the Hilly Guans.
Yeah.
For those who are not from there, it's not very clear to see, but when you sort of, I'll give you an example. When I'm covering elections and I'm doing, so there's a primary for MPP, and you go to, say, the Akuapem area, you notice that there's a voting pattern, and it's within one party.
Yeah.
The latter people may have a certain preference, but the Akuapem people have a certain preference. And that distinction is very clear when they have those internal elections. Not very clear in the national picture. So is it that is there a clear distinction between the Guan group and the Akan group, even though they are all Akwapims?
Yeah.
Can you sort of elaborate?
So linguistically,
yes.
Linguistically, you will see the difference, because the very moment you move all the way from Ebri to Amanokrum, these are all Akan enclaves. Okay, the guy Opare Okoto that founded the Ebri, which is Ebude, the Ebu's own. Okay, in Ebude. The one who Ebu's own, he owns the place, and then you go straight to Amanokrum, which is Amano guy who was also a member of the Achim group that came. In fact, there's a connection between Amanokrum and Dodua. That line, that's why you see the name Amano in between those communities. Okay. So Amano, the founder of the community. Then you go to Akuapem, who were the Achim warriors that actually led the war by Oforikai, or Oforikuma, who led the war. And went there, and his family members were the people that were given the land to rule, because they were the military leaders. So Safori or Oforikuma, Oforikai, that's the various names given to him. Wow. He started the foundation of the Akwapim state during the agreement. So the Okri group, which is the five we mentioned, the Aprede, the Wu, the Ebru, and yes. And the others from the Abonsi side, who were a mixture of the Guan group as well as some Akans. And then you have the Gua group or Guan group, which is the Latte. So the Latte language they speak there is different from the one spoken by the Okri group.
But they are both Guans.
They are both. And so what it is that there is similarity in their language. So they are speaking a dialect of a Guan. But when Latter person speak, the Okre person understands.
They are mutually
but he may not speak the same way. It's just like speaking Evedome and Awono.
So can we say the Akwapim tree was a mixture of the way the Guan spoke and how the Achim spoke, sort of merging?
Yes.
Because the Achim people's tree is a bit more similar to the what we know as Ashanti tree.
Yeah,
but
so
then,
I like the angle you took. So it is hybridization.
Yes.
Every language, when it interacts with an Aboriginal language, produce a unique hybridized language. So Akuapem is a hybrid. The ones the Achimo brought, the ones Mampon people from the Ashanti area also brought today in the Mampon state, all commingled with the Aboriginal languages of Latte and the Okre to produce that unique Akuapem language. In the same way, if you go to Western region, the Takrade and other Fantis there, you see the Fantin language intermingled with a hunter people between Impaho and then others in Sekendi, as well as the Nzaba language, producing that unique language there. You see the Fantis also coming to the Central Regional Enclave. Their language mixing with the Etsi language to produce that unique Bono language they brought from Techiman to produce the Infante. And then also mixed with some Portuguese and European languages. So you see how the languages can come about. Look at Ga. The language, whatever language historically we claim they are brought from the East, either Yoruba or wherever, also intermingled with the Obutu language, with the people of Senyabreku areas, also producing the unique Ga language they speak today. In Volta region, the same way, if you go to the reason why the Volta Ewe is a little bit different from this thing is it's intermingled with the Aboriginal Eti and Guans that were there. So you see element of Akan names. So why will Kwankrom become Kwandu? Because they do in every language means what? Town. And the town was founded by Aboriginal person who moved all the way from the Guan areas of BA, moved all the way down there and found Kwankrom. When the West came to me, they became Pandu, and now we have Pandu. So this you see
that's
it in
very,
the.
That's very controversial. I'm sure I'll have a long letter from somebody.
You won't have any long letter because it's established work that Apowazi, who is a true Ewe, has written about.
No, I do understand that the areas in the Vedome side, so Pando, Krepi, Peki areas, there's a lot of Akan.
Yes.
Influence. But I didn't know about the Kwando
unfortunately, when people, we are all mixture.
Yeah.
Who is a true Ewe today? Okay? We all came to meet people. But always the history favors the superpower, the one with the numbers, that bury others within them. So when we even get the name of the Aboriginals, we are trying to say, I belong to the major group because that is the people who are now telling the story. Wonderful. So somebody comes from Volta region, it's called Asiedu, Ejieni. This is a typical Ewe name. He will know somebody is called Jisan. He will say he will have to find a way within the Ewe language and look for Ewe variables to translate it. But if you go back, you will see that not Akan per se, but Akan themselves also borrowed a lot from the Eti and the Guans.
So the whole thing is the Guan and
the Guan factor.
Guan are the people.
We all came to meet them.
They are the people we have to mix with and mix.
So the Guan were Aboriginals, the Eti were Aboriginals. Okay. If you go to Cape Coast, the Cape Coasters who were the Fetu were Aboriginals. Abrem were also there, Elmina were. These were Aboriginal groups that were there. Komante the Injedum were also Aboriginal. They are not Guans, they are not Eti, but they are also different. Wow. So you see all these Aboriginal ethnic groups, Asebu, at a communicated in this hometown. They are also the same people. It is the people from Asebu that's going to find the disco, lower and upper disco, and Busia areas. They are all the same people.
Wow. I like that trajectory. I just want to come back to the Hilly Guans and end on Latte. Because I've grown up with a lot of Lattes when I was... who are the Latte people and how different are they as Guans?
So Latte people, we know that historically they were also on the south, and they were led by their leader Ade Ite Fianku, and they moved all the way. So they call them Latte, firestone, in the language. Firestone, Latte.
But that's Ghana, right?
No, so
or the Ghana
that's the language itself.
So it's their language.
The Guan language itself,
okay.
which is Obutu Aguan, which is the Senyabreku people. And their language completely influenced Ghana language.
So that's why the non-Guans actually borrowed the Guan language.
Which non-Guans?
Non. So,
the non-Guans, okay.
So I'm Ewe. Fred is Gan. These are the people who rather chose and used Guan words and adopted it into their language.
Just like the Fantis too borrowed from the Eti, who were Aboriginals. So for Eti Kasa, they have taken the Eti language.
So Latte is, you see, stone. Fire.
Firestone.
You know what's funny? And this is a very unrelated story. I lived in a place called Firestone in Medina.
That's where I live right now. A lot of the people,
my neighbors were Latte people. But the company there, which was called Firestone, was different because that company was they had a franchise for this American tire company. So that's why they call it Firestone. But there's a lot of Latte people who lived in that enclave. Yeah. But that's a different story. So the Latte people, you say, were also from the south.
Yeah.
Before they mingled with the Akans. Yes. And so what's the headquarters? Is it Edukrom?
No. The Latte people are Latte Kubiase used to be the headquarters. Okay, and but now they are divided. You have the Latte Kubiase, which is down there, and Latte Ahinase at the top. So if you reach Latte, if you ever go to the town, you see one road leads down, another one leads up.
They are the same people.
They are the same people, but with their different leader. So Ajemfre and his people are at the top, which is the Latte Ahinase. And then you go to the Kubiasi area, getting to the down there, you have the Jedun Kansen and his people right there. So the Jedun Kansen were the first people to be there before other people came to. So they also were different groups. They pass through different trajectory, but they speak the same language. Before the people who were there, who called themselves the original, the Jampo people, which now you understand as Jampo, were also there. Jampo, which is, I was there, Aboriginal, who was a settler there, first to come. So they are there and they call them, now the name has become Jampo, the family, as it is.
It's funny. And the Jampo I know says is from South Pond.
No, the mother, because of he's using a kind of matrilineal system. So if your mother comes from a community.
Also, Jampo is Latte on the father side.
Yes, and the mother comes from South Pond. So that makes him a Fanti.
Because his address is Prebil something.
Prabil, the original place where Professor PAV Ansa lived.
I see.
That's why
we'll leave it here. Like, so much to learn. We've just been picking two main issues in the Eastern region. We first discussed the Akwamu, traced their trajectory. We've also looked at Guan and Okomfo Anokye and sort of try and understand a bit of the Akwapim groups. There's a lot more we'll do. This is our honor series on the Heritage Month. My name is Bernard. I've let my guest, Kweku Dankwa. Stay with us.
Ago.